Well, it is good to be back. I think I've been principal this is my 18th year as principal, and I think I have spoken here every year except for the pandemic. And I just want to say, y'all haven't changed a bit. I think I've gotten a little grayer, but y'all look the exact same as you did 18 years ago. And we just so appreciate. I want you to hear it from me. I hope you hear it in other places, but the work that you do on behalf of our diocese, the prayers and just the involvement with our priests. We have had some great ones come through Catholic Eye, and Patrick Friend there right now. Guys, you want to talk about just an advocate. He was on morning announcements the other day, which I don't like giving up the microphone much there, but he was on morning announcements just talking about the percentage of priests in our diocese and the percentage of seminarians that came from Catholic High. And you think, gosh, why is that? Why is that school, our school, able to produce so many wonderful men who decided to give their lives to the priesthood and to us? And, there are some unique circumstances within our school, of course, being all boys, but it's also just the spiritual element of our school that allows young men to decipher, to discern, to hear God and answer. And so we're so proud of that. So we're proud of our partnership with the Serra Club, and I thank you for that. Now, you may have heard this term lately. There's a boy crisis. Have you heard this? A boy crisis. Girls are taking the top spots in education. I'm glad the Mount St. Mary's principal's not here to hear me discuss this. They're attending college in greater percentages. 57% of bachelor's degrees awarded now are awarded to females. Of the top 7 law schools in the nation, all 7 are the editor of the Law Review are female. Boys are dropping out at higher rates. They're frustrated with their opportunities. I was on a panel last spring with another private school head of school, a public school principal, a charter school head of school, and then it was me, and the boy crisis question came up, and they were all lamenting. One of them said, out of my top 10 students in the senior class, 8 are female. Another one said, I haven't had a male valedictorian in 10 years. Another one said, all of our discipline issues are with the males. And it got to me, and I said, our valedictorian's been a male forever. Top 10, yes. They don't generally drop out, But they all complained, and that this is a community-wide, this is a nationwide issue. Please hear me clearly. Female success is not a bad thing. It's male failure that we are concerned with. And the question is, what's going on? Now, I have 3 sons, and the third one graduated Catholic High in May, and he moved away. And so there's no other male in my house for the first time, in 26 years. And so I did what any reasonable man would do. I went and got myself a puppy. Now, let me explain. My 2 of my children graduated from college 1 week apart from each other. One was a class of 2022, he should have, and the other was class of 2020. Her graduation was put off because of the pandemic, and so really long story short, the graduations were a week apart, and so my wife decided to stay on campus and help get things ready. And of course I came home with the kids to go back to school, and during that time she found a stray dog. And the stray dog ended up having puppies. And the owner of the cabin said, well, she's had 6 puppies. Do you want one? and I could see my wife doing this. And I said, yes, but it must be a male dog. So I got a puppy. Now, I did one of those DNA swabs on this puppy because it's a stray dog. We have no idea anything about it. I did a little DNA swab on it just to find out what kind of breed it is. And it came back, it has 16 breeds within this puppy. This is the opposite of a full-bred animal. This is the very definition of a mutt. And it made me think of the boy crisis in general. Think about this. Modern education has become one of those designer dogs. A Labradoodle, a Frenchie pug, a schnoodle. These dogs are designed to lick your hand and make you feel good. That's what education has become in so many communities. It is designed to make you feel good rather than be good. Now, I'm in my 21st year of occupying the front office at Catholic High. I spent 3 years as the vice principal, God help me. And now I'm in my 18th year as principal, as I said. And it's become difficult to describe what education is like these days. In our first faculty meeting this year, the teachers and I just talked about the kids. Not specific ones, not isolating problems or anything like that. Just talked about kids. You see, it's obvious we're not teaching the same kids we were teaching at the beginning of my administrative career. We're not even teaching the same kids that we were teaching 5 years ago. They've changed. They have changed. They've changed in how self-aware they are. Now that's a good thing in that they more readily articulate what they need. It can be challenging because they do make any perceived slights into a mountain of offense. They've changed in the length of their attention spans. While they generally don't read long tracts of work anymore, they do take in a whole lot of information from varying sources. They're more sensitive. Maybe not as tough as previous generations in some respects. It's good to have a sense of how others feel. It's good to be empathetic and compassionate. It's not so good to embrace a victim mentality that everyone is out to get me. Now, why have kids changed? Why have boys changed? I could ask you and we can come up with a dozen different reasons just like that. Of course, social media and the algorithms that work against our kids to make them more insular, digesting information that prevents their growth. We could say they're overscheduled and families are spending more time on the outside instead of doing just good old-fashioned family things. We could say that the rejection of moderation has caused pain. Kids and families are torn apart by extreme drug use, extreme alcohol use. They are torn apart by extreme politics. Moderation has gone out the window, but the big problem that boys face today, oftentimes, is us, the older generations. It is because, for some reason, many of us, I'm sure everyone in this room accepted, but many of us confuse pandering and leading. We confuse those two things. And this contributes to the boy crisis. Our kids see this in every aspect of their lives. Our politicians pander to voters. They tell us they're going to protect us from the radical left or the MAGA right, depending on what state we're in. Lost is the adherence to vision. This is the direction that we're going to take. Instead, our kids see the embrace of fear. It's the same thing in many households. Do we lay out the future for our sons? and say, look, this is where we dream that you will go someday? Do we lay out the future in the guise of a vision, something to be worked for, something to strive for? The understanding that there will be successes and failures. No one is successful 100% of the time. Or do we pander? Do we cushion every fall? Blaming others, pandering to our own kids so they won't feel bad. Instead, making sure that their hands will be licked and they will feel good. Leading is different. Leading is different. Leading is understanding that there will be failure. It is understanding there will be challenges. It is understanding that my kid may not be the smartest in the classroom, but he can outwork anybody in that room. Leading is understanding that kids make mistakes, and that's okay, because we as adults make mistakes too. Pandering is the lowest form of campaigning. It is the lowest form of parenting. When we lose the ability to lead or the desire to lead, that's when there's a boy crisis. Now, 21 years in the front office at Catholic High. I can tell you one thing for sure. Catholic High is no angel factory. It's not. As a matter of fact, we have 700 live wire adolescent boys. We are always about that close to a Lord of the Flies incident. We have these famous alumni, Gil Gerard, who was Buck Rogers on TV, Walter Keller, who helped invent the pacemaker, John Nelson, another actor, he was on Baywatch, Bill Halter, the former lieutenant governor, French Hill, a current congressman, John York, owner of the San Francisco 49ers, Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys, and we can go on. This year we have 3 National Merit semifinalists. We have boys currently in Harvard, and Princeton, and West Point, the Naval Academy, and honor schools around the country. We have a beautifully renovated campus. These are all home runs. Home runs. But like any baseball season, a season at Catholic High is not determined by how many home runs we hit. It's by how many games we win. And for us, winning a game is how many good husbands, good fathers, good leaders in this community that we help develop. That is how we judge games won. I have said that line to you for 18 years now, and it is as relevant today as it was 18 years ago. Now, we're no angel factory. We've had challenges. I had a Property Owners Association president called me the Sunday after Labor Day and said, hey, some of your boys are speeding down our roads. And I said, okay. And she said, well, they're going like 70 miles per hour. I said, okay. She said, 2 of them were hanging on the roof. I said, well, that just sounds stupid. How do you know those were Catholic High boys? And she said, well, they were wearing Catholic High shirts. Yeah, that sounds like us. 2 of our boys learned that their mothers have cancer. A boy is in the hospital with anxiety and depression. 1 is undergoing surgery and recovering from surgery because he had a brain tumor removed. 2 families face significant job losses. We have abused kids, kids who learn their families are breaking apart, kids who have experienced homelessness. This is life, and we are not immune from that. This list is just from this year. We're 2 months in. That's just from this year. Kids today have so many similarities with Mac, my puppy. The 16 breeds in them. They come from different backgrounds. They're often confused by who they are, trying to find their identity. Some get looked down upon by others in the community because of their upbringing, of who their parents are. But like that puppy, if they find the right home, they turn into much more than just a mascot bouncing from place to place. They become true and abiding leaders. You see, while education in general may be a designer dog, a Labradoodle or whatever, that's not the case at Catholic High. We are a German Shepherd. We are there to guide, to herd the strays, to arm our kids with the spiritual, academic, and mental strength necessary to protect themselves, to fulfill themselves for the rest of their lives. There is no boy crisis at Catholic High. Instead, there is hope and high expectations, the expectation that the boys will become men who are good husbands, good fathers, good leaders in this community. Our expectation is that they will never pander. They will lead. Thank you for having me today. I'll entertain your questions. I will entertain any question that you have.
What percentage are Catholics versus non-Catholics?
Well, right now it is 58% Catholic.
Okay.
Yeah, 58% Catholic, if I remember correctly, about 42% non-Catholic.
Okay.
Yes,
Steve, talk about tuition assistance and you know, the foundation and what goes towards tuition assistance. You might talk about ACE scholarships and what's going on there. And
great question. You know, we made a decision forever ago that Catholic High would be available to all the boys of Central Arkansas, that no boy would be turned away because of financial consideration. And so our business model is to market to the middle class. Everyone, you know, talks about the middle class. We actually address it. And the way that we do that is by making our tuition affordable. The middle class does not want tuition assistance. The middle class is educated. The middle class wants a good service for the money they spend. And so we market it, our tuition at that level, which is considerably less than other private schools. So by doing that, we have already broadened, you know, who can even conceive coming to Catholic High. And our model is that the poor, those lower on the socioeconomic scale, will have tuition assistance opportunities, and those who are wealthy will pay more. They'll buy programs in buy ads in our sports programs. They'll buy tables at our auction. They'll overspend at our concession stand or whatever. But they will do that. But there is still such a need for financial aid for our families. The pandemic wrecked so many lives and so many economic lives, let me put it that way. And we have a foundation, an endowment fund that funds every single determined need. We never say we don't have enough. We figure it out. Now, we've been fortunate through ACE and a couple of other grants to where we have, even with our tuition being about a third of what other private schools are, we have 135 boys on tuition assistance right now in some form or another. Many of them are new to our country, parents that don't speak English. Many of them have just fallen on hard times, and many of them, this is what parents believe is their son's best chance for becoming a good young man, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get them through. So, yes, sir.
Speaking of leadership, this is a little bit off topic. Has anybody ever encouraged you to run for public office? After post-Catholic High?
Usually it's after they've, you know, visited the bar at the alumni. But I don't think anybody wants me there. Yes, sir.
That message you just gave would be really good for your article. in the paper.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Yes, ma'am.
Are you anticipating any further vocations to the priesthood?
We are.
Coming up in
We are.
this year?
Let me tell you, we have such great models in Father Fred and Brother Richard. And, you know, they are getting older. I used to be the young, cool teacher. Now I'm somebody's dad. Having young priests in our school, I cannot tell you the impact. If you ever see the bishop, please tell him what I tell him every time I see him. Just thank you. Thank you for sending Patrick Friend to us. Thank you for continuing to allow seminarians to cycle through, and please keep that going, because we are the fertile soil. You know, there are so many blooms that have occurred because boys have to be able to see themselves in the future, and gosh, Patrick Friend is just a great example. So, yes, we do have some more.
I
Yes.
just wanted to say the 10 priests that were ordained for Christ the King in the last 10 years have all been Catholic high graduates.
Mm.
Wow.
We're very proud of that. Anything else? Well, thank you for having me. My 18th time, I think. Thanks, man.